and Frida Lindsay started Christ for the Nations, but Gordon was the primary force that chronicled the healing revival of the 40s. But Shira, this doesn't even seem like you. I know you're a fabulous writer and a researcher. Why in the world would you research Islam? That's not your thing. That's not your interest.
It really isn't. And I started last December to, in my mind, I could hardly believe my eyes as I began to study this. Then I looked for the press to see what they wrote. And the American press, silent. Absolutely silent. Absolutely silent. They don't write about the Muslim Brotherhood. I think that part of it's because they're afraid, but part of it's because they want to be politically correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I live in America. I'm being sheltered of the truth about Islam.
Yes.
But to me, a question that I've really pondered this personally for a long time. Something in me gets agitated when I hear a president of the United States, I've heard two presidents of the United States, President Bush and President Obama, use a phrase, Islam is a peace-loving religion.
50 converts. So then when he went from Mecca to Medina and began to get an army going and the people followed him, all of his so-called revelations that he received from who he said was Gabriel the angel turned very violent. Jihad, and the hadiths, the short stories, 98% of the description of jihad is violence and sword. There's 2% that talks about the actual goal of the Brotherhood is to put a president in the White House. To the United States, for everyone who wanted to know, I'm talking about in the government, to find out what the Muslim Brotherhood was up to. And it's out there. In fact, I found it on a government website.
Well, how come we don't have it in the newspapers in America?
Why?
I mean, this is like their strategy, their hidden strategy. Well, there were 5 major points, briefly summarized.
Yes.
What is the strategy of the Muslim Brotherhood?
It's stealth. First of all, you can lie. You can lie in Islam. It's called taqiyya. You can lie if it will advance Islam.
Wait a second. The United States is bending over backwards to make a nuclear deal with Iran, and you're telling me that if they agree to anything, they can lie and they're okay with their God?
Absolutely. Taqiyya is legal, and not only do you are you allowed, but you must to advance Islam. You must do whatever is possible to do that, including to lie. Yes. And so the way you start is very, very quietly. You know, you build little, what they call prayer groups. You bring people in and you tell them, don't tell anybody else that we are meeting, but we want to bring you into Islam. They don't start out telling them the revolutionary part. They just say, you know, the true religion is Islam, and the true God is Allah, and Muhammad is God's representative. So they really drill that into them, and then as they see somebody is to put in the White House a president, a Muslim president, and to turn the laws into Sharia law in the United States.
2 questions. Number 1, how close are we to their final goal, to put a president in the White House?
Well, in this house where they dug up these 2 truckloads of stuff, the people that were working on these plans said, well, we're going through 4. We're in the 4th one.
4th phase.
The 4th phase. And they were thinking that by, now I didn't read that in this particular report, but I read where some of them are saying they feel like by 2050, they can have a president in the White House. Now, it could be sooner. It could be sooner.
Okay, Sharia law. Briefly, very briefly.
Right.
What are some basic elements of it?
Basic elements is that a woman's testimony is only half as true as a man. A man can divorce his wife with 3 words, I divorce you. A woman cannot divorce. You can have 4 wives, And if you're conquering and bringing in conquered people, you can have all the the slaves you want. The women are simply downtrodden. If a woman is raped, you have to have 4 men who witnessed it. Otherwise, it doesn't stand up in court.
How could any woman ever want to be under Sharia law?
I can't imagine.
How could any sane human ever want to be under Sharia law? When we come back, wait till you hear the 2 smoking guns we're going to talk about. How they're invading the college campuses and winning, and how they're exploiting sex as a means for ISIS to get troops. Be right back.
The guys and girls going by, they'd say, "Oh, hi, bro, hi," and there was nothing against the ISIS flag. And then a few minutes later, he put an Israeli flag against him. He began to get spit at and yelled at and cursed at. That's what's going on in the universities. You see, that's a target. The universities, they know that in a few years, the graduates of these big universities, they're going to be in Congress. They're going to be in government. They're going to be the people who make the decisions for America. And so they have really, really targeted.
As a matter of fact, I read in the newspaper just yesterday that there's an ISIS group right outside of Texas in Mexico training to invade the United States, and they're going to let the mafia type people in Mexico are escorting them into the United States. You told me about this sexual exploitation of ISIS, which is what is the big attraction of ISIS to these young men? Tell me briefly.
Well, in the biographies of Muhammad, he gives instructions to his followers to go out and conquer land, conquer peoples for Islam. And when you conquer them, all the possessions are yours. And the men you kill, if they're heathen, and you can actually rape the wives in front of the men before you kill them. It's right there. It's in there, his instructions.
No, I've never heard this in the American press.
No, you haven't.
But where we are right at this moment, is Islam winning?
It is winning in that it is increasing at a very rapid pace in America. And because the press has squashed it, nothing about it in the press, because the universities are growing in influence, and because of the White House now accepting many advisors from the Muslim Brotherhood, it's growing. It's growing very fast, and I think, even in these little towns, my son-in-law was in Alabama, in a small town. There was a huge center, Muslim center, and he was saying, what could such a big center be for such a little town? But they're going up, they're building all over the United States, putting their footprint all over the U.S. The Mahdi's assistant, and he's going to be a prophet, and he's going to come and explain how what people believed about him before as the Son of God is a lie. It's not true. And he's going to help the Mahdi convert the whole world to Islam. That is the Shiite belief. That's what's going on.
Why do you say Israel's the key to understanding the end times?
Because I have seen from my lifetime when a Christian leader or just layman doesn't understand God's plan for Israel, they don't understand the importance of Israel. They don't understand that Allah is not God. How do we know? Because God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God is the God of Israel. So if we leave all that out, well, we're open to, Allah, maybe it's the same God, see? But Allah hates Israel. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob loves Israel. They're not the same God. So unless people are tuned into what the Bible says about Israel, Old Testament, New Testament, it says in Romans 11 that the day is going to come when Israel returns to God, and it's going to be like life from the death for the whole world. So Israel has to come to salvation at the same time, the great outpouring of God upon the world.
I got news for you. We serve the